Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's December 14th, 2014, and this week we're going to be running through arpeggios for blues progressions. This week's question was sent in from Barrie. He's out in Columbia, South Carolina, and he wrote in with this email. I've been watching YouTube lessons that cover blues, and I've run across some lessons titled Blues Arpeggios. While watching these blues arpeggio lessons, all it seems these guys are doing is playing major or minor pentatonic. So my question to you is this. What would you consider a blues arpeggio to really be? I respect your opinion, so I'm looking forward to your response. From Barrie in Columbia, South Carolina, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, Barrie. You know, most often when we're playing in the blues tonality, we'll find that we can get more than enough mileage out of either the major or minor pentatonics, as well as adding our passing tones of major and minor thirds, and of course that legendary sound of the diminished fifth as well. However, when it comes to strictly working out arpeggios that can cover the blues harmony, there's only one idea that truly fits the bill for us, and that's the dominant seventh arpeggio. Well, the dominant seventh arpeggio is perfect coverage for the primary chord types that are found within a typical blues progression, which of course are the dominant seventh chords. And as I'm sure you're well aware, you know, the typical blues progression is made up of all dominant seventh chord types following the popular 1, 4, 5 set of harmonic movements there. And in the key of A, we'd have the chords of A dominant seventh as the 1 chord, the 4 chord would be the D dominant seventh, and the 5 chord would be E dominant seventh. Now the first step is to become familiar with the guitar fingerboard patterns for each dominant seventh arpeggio built off of the root of the chord. So starting with the 1 chord, the first chord of the progression, we're going to go off the 6th string root and we're going to build an A dominant seventh arpeggio. And because this is such a popular chord and it's so prevalent in your 12-bar, 16-bar, and even in the 8-bar blues progressions, we're going to do a couple of guitar licks here for you just to help put the arpeggio into context. You know, I have a couple of composed licks that I'll show you. Here's the first one. It's kind of a speedy 16th note run. It goes like this. I'm going to slow that down, though. It's a little bit fast. Here it is a little slower. Here's again. And, you know, that's basically for use over top of that 1 chord A dominant seventh. Right, and like I mentioned earlier, since this root chord is so prevalent in the blues, here's another A7 arpeggio lick for you. So it has a little bit more eighth notes to it. It's a little bit slower. All right, now let's move on to the 4 chord arpeggio. In the key of A, this would end up being off the D root, built to cover the sound of the D dominant seventh chord, so it would be a D dominant seventh arpeggio. Here's how the pattern sits on the neck. And also, here's an example of a blues lick that operates from within that pattern. So again, that's covering the dominant seventh chord of D. Well, we got one more chord to cover here. This is going to be the 5 chord. So let's take a look at a dominant 7th pattern for the 5 chord off of the A root. That would give us an E for our 5 chord there, E dominant 7th. So here's a fingerboard pattern for the E dominant 7th arpeggio. It's based in 4th position. It goes like this. And what we're going to do is build a guitar lick around that shape, but we're just going to also add in a little more linear movement along the neck. And how we're going to do that is this first arpeggio pattern that we used here for the E, we're going to combine its layout with the layout of an E7 up at the 6th position here. So basically what we're going to do to get that is take the shape that we had established off of the D, and we're going to move that up to E. So we're going to be thinking about that layout combined with that 4th position layout that we just covered for E, and we're going to have a guitar lick between those two shapes that sounds like this. All right, one more time. And that's for covering E7. Well, when we're performing in the blues style, whether that's the 12-bar blues format or the 8-bar or maybe even the 16-bar format, we don't always need to stick to using only the major or minor pentatonic patterns. We can get a lot of new and interesting sounds by going ahead and applying the use of the dominant 7th arpeggios built from off of the roots of each chord. As you saw during the lesson, if we're on the 1 chord of, say, A dominant 7th, we can play licks using that A dominant 7th arpeggio. And if we're on either the 4 chord or the 5 chord of a progression, if we're in the key of A, that would be the D7 or the E7th, we can just apply each of those arpeggios respectively. Best of all, when dominant 7th arpeggios are added into your blues phrases, it creates a very unique sound that'll really catch the attention of your listeners in the audience. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. If you're interested in learning faster, making better use of your time, and practicing longer, the Accelerating Your Learning Curve ebook is for you. Over 60 pages of information on how to take control of both the way you learn and the time that you devote to your practicing. Accelerating Your Learning Curve is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.